So the first thing that we have to do in order to design this for the mobile responsiveness is this thing. I want in mobile this button to be right here. So I will go to this page in this hero section and will say 24, and this looks good. In LG, py equals 56. Because we are using the flex column, I have to remove this item center, and then it becomes like this. And then here it should be just max content, and now it is fine, but this will make it like this. So then I have to go back here and make sure that in LG this item center is back. I think it is in MD then. Oh, I'm doing it in the wrong one. So in LG it should be back. This is good. So now we go to this about. So let's go to and remove this. We can go to about one. First thing first, I will remove this one more time. Maybe this can go up to 12. Now it looks better. Also, let's change this to crafters, and that's about it. This Excel can now go to 4XL, and this LG Excel here can go to base. And this is much better in mobile. All right. So now how will it look here? Yeah, this is much better. I don't have any complaint here. Maybe we can go to LG, and this is good. Also, by the way, this is not following any sort of like a UI principle. I'm just making a little bit like section wise thing. Otherwise, if this is aligned here, maybe this should also aligned at the very top, and this should not be centered. It should be justified, things like that. But we are not going to worry about that for now. Now let's go back to open this home contact. This can again become as just 12. Then this can be removed from top. This can become 4XL. And yeah, that should do it. Nothing else is required here. Pretty cool. Finally, this thing. So let's see where it is. The footer. For the footer, the Excel has to be changed to base. And then for LG, the Excel should become LG, and that should do it. This much is like good for me. So now we come to the header. So in header, we have this logo, and then we have these things. What we can do is we can have a hamburger which will open this entire thing. So for that, this navigation bar, I will add a class of hidden, and only when we are in LG, I will make it as block. So that is done. These two can remain, or we can also simply make it icon. Like there should be just one icon that can just represent both of them. So for that, I will also make this as hidden, and for LG they will come back, and this can be done, and this can become as flex. So now let's go and bring our hamburger for now. So we will go to this. I'll go to hero icons, hamburger. We'll go here, we'll search for hamburger, and this is enough. So I will copy this JSX. I will come here, I will create another component, hamburger.tsx. Then I'll simply do this, create a new component like so. It did not copy paste anything. I did. And then we will export default hamburger, and here right below this where we have this, I will paste a hamburger like so, and it is right here, as you can see right here. So in this hamburger I think it can go, then it becomes right here as we need it. And this hamburger is basically an SVG, so it is not taking any like classes. It is here. So we will say in LG make it hidden, and that should do it. So if we are on the big screen, there's no hamburger, but if we are on the small screen, we have a hamburger. So let's also open this in this format, and this is how it looks. So for that, let me also make this a little bit big. I will also make this crafters a little bit big, like from LG to XL, and this is fine by me. This is also good, kind of. Let's also make this a little bit small. So we will go to hero. I will make this as 4XL. This can now go to just LG, and in LG it can go to 2XL, no problem. This can also go to in LG screen. LG is basically large screen, which is a text tailwind way of defining the media queries. So that's what we are doing. So in large screen makes this size, and the rest of the screen make that size. Basically whatever happens from large to upwards can be this. Text can be now 6XL, all right? And this looks much better. And then we can also maybe reduce this to just 12. This is much better. There's nothing wrong with this. All right. Now when I click on this, right, I want some action to happen so that the navigation is visible to me. That's all I need. So for that, let's also first look for a sign button. This right here is maybe a user button. This right here is a user circle, which I would like to just copy this. I will go back here. I will again create new user or sign up. Let's say auth icon. This should do it. So in this auth icon, I'm going to say auth icon, and that will just simply make it like so. Also will make it as 8 and 8, and of course LG hidden. And then let's export this, export auth icon. Here in the header, we will also export the auth icon. And we'll wrap this whole thing inside a div, which will have item center, justify end, and it will be LG, it will be flex in small screen and LG hidden. Basically the opposite of this. So this is how it looks. Now let's also give it a little bit of gap of say 4, and this is how it looks. Now we can just rearrange this if we want. So this is the sign up page, and this is basically when I click on this, the entire thing should just simply open. This is what I basically want. In the about section, I am not liking this thing, for example, which is justify center. So let me just remove this. I think this is the item center, and then the text center, I can just remove this as well. I don't like this either. And here I shall make it as bold one more time. Let's see what is the bold there in terms of hero. Is it bold? No, it is semi bold, and this is bold only. Oh, so it is bold. So let's go here about crafters. It is good. Tracking a little bit of wide. Yeah, this is much better. Tracking of wide is much better. And because here we are in like background color is dark, so it is looking like this dark one, I mean this black text is semi bold, whereas this is bold, which is not the case. So let's call it semi bold here so that visually it looks same. Okay, now it looks same. Now this is fine. So let's also go inside the contact. Let's copy this whole thing. Go here. Let's simply paste it like so, and we remove this. Okay, so this works, and this will be bold. Okay, and I will remove this here, and that should do the trick for the mobile at least. If I go here, this is the situation. So now let's select this. Let's see what this is. Now there's a margin that is happening. So in contact, in this client message form, I will say that this MX auto just should remove itself, and this should do the trick. So this is how it will look. Even though there's a lot of things that are not here, this is like this, but at least this is still aligned. So in the hero as well, I will do the same thing. I will just simply at the very top like this, I can just remove this, and this is still better, right? Everything is like aligned at least. And yeah, that's about it. So this is done. Now let's go and create that mobile navigation that we talked. When I click on this, I want something. Okay, so that something will be basically when this is clicked, I want to run some sort of like a function. So that's basically the entire thing. But before that, let's also go to header, and here this whole navigation, right? This whole navigation has to be hidden, but when I click on the button, this navigation should show up, but in a different format itself. So for that, what I mean here is that first, let's remove this class. So it is right here. Okay. This navigation should cover the entire page. This should then become absolute first, so that it is at the very top somewhere. It is going, the relative will be the body element by default, because there's no relative parent that I have put above. So whatever is the like header is the relative element that for it. Let's also make sure that the background is white one. So this is the current height and everything. So let's put it at the top. Okay, let's put the left at the very bottom, like left as like left, right as 0 as well. So now when I say that, so left is this area, right is this area, top is this area, and this is entirely absolute. So the only thing that is left here is basically bottom of 0. So this will cover the entire thing like this. Let's also make it black. So this is now like this. And as you can see, this is the logo that is coming up. Let me just refresh. Now it went back. So in this logo itself, let's add a Z index of 10. Now the logo is up, right? And the other elements will remain as they are. This is a very dummy project. I'm not going deep into any sort of like CSS anyways. So now we will just look into this absolute thing. Now we have to make sure that all of this is not applied when we are on the desktop. Okay. So none of this can apply when we are on the desktop. So let's see how we can do that. Right now, even if we are on the desktop, this entire thing is being applied. So for now, let's say in LG, make it relative. That's number one. And the moment we do that, pretty much everything just goes away. So this absolute is the magic that keeps this entire top, bottom, and all of that alive. And this BG slate thing is something that even if we remove it, this will happen. So we just let it be. And this is only working if there's a absolute thing. For example, if I just make this as relative, right, it is not going to work anyways. So that is the trick. All right. So now that it is like this, so we don't have to hide anything, like for now at least we don't have to, but we will add the hidden element as there as well. So now we come to this UL and we make this as flex call for the smaller screen, whereas for the larger screen we make it as row. So now it is like this. Cool. Let's also see how much area does this cover. So let's call it just white, and it only covers this much area. So let's make the width as full and let's make the height as full as well. So now it covers the entire area. We can just remove this white. Okay, since it covers the entire area now, then we can say that justify start can become justify center for the small screens and LG for the large screens. Now it becomes at the very bottom. Then what we can again say, right? Basically, I want the entire text here for a small screen to at least be Excel. Let's make it like this. And in LG, let's make it as base, whatever it was. All right, this is looking fine. The same can go to this item center. Let's call it as items start followed by LG of item center. So now it is like this. Okay. And the reason being, if I go to this LI and let's W full text center, that's one. We will have the same in the rest here as well as here. Okay, then in this link we will have W of full inline of say block followed by text of left, and this full can now be 110 pixels for us. So let's copy this, paste it right here and right here. Let's refresh and this is fine. So now that hamburger should also show up at the very top. For that, in this hamburger, just right here, I will also add this of 20. So this is now also visible at this point. In this navigation, you will find that there's a problem, and the problem is that, I mean, we have added so many of these classes. So if I just go back, this is how it became. I simply have to remove this. I simply have to remove this for this, right? Similarly goes for this. Okay, now this is full. So if I just remove this as well, this will work. So let's do that as well. In this, I will say W and this will be max. And here, this is LG max. So let's call it here as well. Let's call it here as well. And this thing can now become as W of none. Now inherit or max is fine. This is also good. Max and max. Let's see. So we go here as max and we go here as max as well. And this did the trick. So let's reload it. And this is it. If we go here, this is how it is. If we go here, this is how it is. This is perfect for us. And maybe we can just have this not an LG, maybe MD, whatever you want, you can just do that. Now there has to be some sort of like a, when I click on this, there should also be the same case in this terms for the auth icon. So I will just copy paste the same thing here. And this is it. So let's do the client side interactivity, because we only want to show this, like we should open this when I click on this, and it should then pop back as well, right? That's what we want to do here. So for that, so in the hamburger menu, let's define a use client boundary, and then this hamburger becomes a client side component, so we can say it as use state, and this will be false, and then we can say is menu open, set is menu open. All right, and this says cannot define the blah blah blah. We can just forget about that for now. Here I will also add on click, this will simply call the set is menu open. Okay, and maybe this set menu open, whatever the previous state was, make it that opposite of that. All right, is menu open now has to be somewhat accessible to our header, otherwise this won't work. So that could also mean that we also need to make this entire header component as, you know, client side. And if that is required, we can do that. Fundamental idea here is that we make sure that the client component is at the very least as much as possible, right? Otherwise, we will be shipping this much amount of JavaScript to our users, 1.8K for this hook usage. For this, we will be shipping it for that, right? In much better. So that's the fundamental idea, that the client side should remain as low as possible, at least going forward. Well, we can simply copy this entire navigation from here like this, and we can paste it here like this, and make this as inside this, like so. Then we can also get this as link and give it. And if you see, it is still working fine. And if I simply move it like this, then it just goes away. We simply have to bring it back here as well. And we don't need to do all this shenanigans here, right? We can just simply make it so that it remains hidden. In the smaller screen, it remains hidden. And for the larger screen, it becomes block or visible. And then if I just move it like this, this is coming from the server. It is a pure server component, whereas this is the mobile one. So now when I click on this, this should just simply becomes hidden or not. So let's make this as like so, wrap this entire thing here, and then we will simply say is open, is menu open, then nothing, or like block, else hidden. So when I click on this, it is here, otherwise it is hidden. Here, hidden. Here, hidden. And the same goes when we click on any of this, because then it should simply just close as well. So for that, you can say the same thing like we have done here. On click, we can just simply copy paste the entire thing here as well as here. All right. So when I click on this, this closes, open, closes. And this is it. This is your client component, and this is your header component, and it is now finally interactive. The another thing that we can do is that when I click on this another icon, which is auth icon, which is another one of the mobile thing. So let's also make this as use client, right? Then a new page should simply just open. So for that, I can say router, and this could be use router from navigation. And when I click on this, right, and this is where we are now using the router method rather than the link one. I just want to show you that it is how it is done. So this is push, and we will go towards say auth, right? So let's close everything. Let's go back to app, and in the public, let's create another folder called auth, and here I can have another page.tsx. Let's call it auth, and we will have auth login and sign up. Okay, then here I can have default as auth. Then I can go inside the header as well, and I simply want to make sure this link right here is just going towards just one thing, which is auth. And there we will separate, like we will have a 2-column layout. One side will be sign up, one side will be login. We can do that as well, or we can just have a form, and that should just do the trick for this small project. So I have changed this, and I can just remove this, right? Or here we can just let this be, like login and all of that, that looks good. So we can just make sure that this is basically the login, this is basically the auth, and this is basically again the auth, nothing else. And we will also use something called query parameters, and this is a good example now, because if we have just one page and two UI layout, we can utilize the query parameters. So let's also mark it here, because we have to look into use search params as well. So we will say page equals sign up, not sing up, sign up. And here as well, I will say page equals login. Okay, we are using it like this. I just want to show you something, and that's why I'm using it like this. That's all there is to it. Now, if I pass it as like params, like so in this auth params, and then this could be like a page, this could be like a string. This is what you might be thinking here. Then we can say console log of page, right? I think params dot page. This is what you might be thinking as well. And then let's make sure that this is the case in mobile as well. So we will say hamburger at the very bottom. Where is it? Okay, it is in the auth one. Sorry about that. So we can have it like this. Okay, the login section, I can have it like this. Cool. Let's see what happens if I click here. I go inside this page, which is login section, and here I have undefined. Why? Because the params is not able to get anything there, right? It is not able to get anything there because that query parameter is a client side part. So we have to somehow get it ourselves using the use search params feature. So let's go inside the auth thing. And here I can remove this like so. And we can use something called search params equals use search params. And the moment we do this, this entire thing, as you can see, is going to fail because we have to make this as client component. And now if I go here, like in console, if I say search params, here it is showing that it is available. All right. So we know that we want from search params only page. So let's do that. Page equals search params dot get page, and we will say let's show it here rather than showing it in console. Let's show it here. This is the login, and if I change this to sign up, this is the sign up. The thing here is this page will always be accessible regardless of what I put here. Okay, so we have to have some sort of like a verification key. Okay, if this is login, then do this. If this is sign up, then do this. But this is how you can actually make this entire page as client side. Now we can also, why should I have the entire page which is login and which is this inside this, right? And that is true. You don't have to have that. So what I will do in this is that, remember that the moment we import anything here, that will become a part and parcel of the client component. But we don't need that, right? We don't need to have that entire thing based on that. But basically we don't need that at all, right? We want our login page and our sign up page to be on the server end as well, so that we don't send the JavaScript to our client as much as possible. Even though there will be form, even though we will need the form to be interactive and all of that, but we can play with that boundary. So to play with that boundary, what we can do at this point is we can create a new component called search client params, something like that, or maybe auth client wrapper, like so. And then this will be basically my entire code from here. And I will say client, auth client, and I will say client. This will take the children, and this will take the children, which is of React Node. And based on the page, okay, we can have different children to pass here. So this entire page will become a client side component, but we want our login page and our sign up page to be a server side component at least, right? So what we can do here? Well, if we import anything, any sort of like a server component in this client component, then it becomes a headache, because then that becomes a part of a client component, right? But there are times when you don't have any choice but to use the client component scenario. That is also okay, is something that I want you guys to get from this, right? It's not like you just have to fit everything into server component. Anytime there's an interactivity requirement, anytime there's a requirement of getting the state from the page or from the URL, then you need some sort of like this scenario. Okay, So the question is, do we even need to do that? And the answer is no. Most people will think that the fact that this thing right here is in URL, there's no way to access this on the server end. But you have to understand that this URL is hitting the server in the end. There's no way we don't have the search params when we have the params, right? If we can have the slug, we can also have the search params. So let's try and do that. So I will remove this entire thing. First of all, I don't need this. And let's put it like so for now. Let's say this is params, and then there will be search params. Let's call it like this. These are reserved keywords. So we don't even need this, by the way. We can just work with this. And we can say search params is kind of like equal to key, which is going to be a string. And then this will be either a string or a string this or undefined. Okay. And this is now working. So let's output what we actually get. So we will say, let's put it inside this. I can say search params dot page. Oh, look. It is working, right? This is right here. It is login. And if I say, okay, this is not this, I want it to be this, it is now sign up. So that means I have complete access to this search params as well, apart from the params that we saw in the beginning or in that blog slug thing. We also have this. So now we can utilize this. Let me just remove this auth client wrapper. Now what we can do is the same logic, and that is if search params this equals login, then I'm going to return the login component. And if the search params dot page equals sign up, then I'm going to return sign page. Otherwise I will return nothing. Okay, this is good. Now let's simply remove this and let's call it as signups. It is becoming signups. So it is working just fine. So this is good to go. And this is good to go as well. There's no login here, and we can have everything on our backend. So that means let's start working with some sort of like a form XYZ. This will return nothing. And to just manage that, we can have something called not found, custom not found. Cool. Okay, let's work on the form. So on the form, first I will go inside this login. So on a form, I will say form action. Let's call it as handle login, and this will be a use server action, which we want to utilize. Let's call it handle login. And here I will have simply a form. So let's go to the contact page in this client form. Here we can have the same functionality that we see here. So let's simply copy paste this entire thing and let's paste it like so. Go up top. Let's remove this entire thing. We want this. We don't want any of this. And that's it. Now we also make sure that this is also always async, and is pending is not found because we are not using is pending. So we will remove this for now. And this will be basically login, and this is it. So here it will not be any attachment. We don't need that. We don't need any message. We need the email for sure, and then perhaps we need the password as well, right? Let's copy paste this whole thing. Let's make this as password. Okay, like so. Let's placeholder can be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Let's make it like this and go back to this. We wrap it around this entire thing, this. Okay, and make this one as login and get this. We wrap this whole thing inside the container, and this is it. You can also say that this whole container is part and parcel of a section. So let's wrap this entire thing inside a section as well. In this login, here we have section, and we don't need this. We can just go back and make it like this. Cool. Now it is good. Now if I put it like so, then this is how it looks. Everything is on the center aligned. This page can be pretty much center, so we can have item center. I just want it to be like here, so let's do that. Text Excel for right. Let's make this as left, which is not working for some reason. Okay, let's make it as full as well. And let's see what I'm doing wrong. This is it. We have to make sure that the max width is 7XL. So I will say the max width here should be 7XL. In the container, we already have max width of 7XL. So that is not the case. Maybe here. Okay, so we just simply have to put this max WXL to this as well. And that should do the trick for us. And this is good to go. Now, all I will do is make sure I copy the entire thing, remove this. In the sign up, I simply paste it. I go up, I select all the login, make it as sign up, and this is good to go. Email and password with the sign up, and that's about it. Also in the contact us, I will go back in the contact us basically, and we'll get this attachment. We'll come back to the sign up form. We will also go to our db.json. We will say the avatar, right? We need that. So let's put it like so, just above here. Cool. And when I go inside the sign up, this is the sign up form. This is my attachments. I can say avatar, and that's about it. We can also remove this to avatar. Pretty cool, right? Now this is created at, this is fine if we want, or we can just remove it and we can have a new altogether things anyways, right? We don't have to worry about this. This is how it is. And this whole thing that we had a bunch of users here in our public, and this is fine. All these bunch of users, we can just remove them completely. All right, cool. So this is working fine. Now when I click on this, when I fill this and click on this, the entire thing should work and all of that. Now you can manage it if you want. I'm not going to go deep into it. I just showed you that we can use this way of doing the things, right? And yeah, that's about it. We already had our one of the function, the action function for the message. We have to use the same here as well, similar function. So I hope you can take it as a homework to finish this login and this sign up. If you want it to be client side, you can just do that as well. Finally, we will go to our read blocks, this designing. So let's also cover this design as well. I will make it as a grid rather than doing anything else, and we'll see what we can do from there. So to begin this, I will go towards my public blocks page. Okay, this is where we have pretty much everything done. And I will simply start applying the classes that I want it to be applied here. Nothing else, nothing much. That's all I am going to do. So let's do that. This cards, I simply want it to be removed with empty12, followed by grid, because all of these should be a grid component. The gap, I want it to be like 5. On the MD screens, I want the columns to be of 2. A small screen, only 1, little bit big, 2. In LG and above, I want it to be 3. And that's it. Let's save this. This is how it now becomes. Okay. This section is like this. So we can have another like H2 or H1. We can say text 2XL or 4XL is fine, which is what we are using throughout our site, and all blocks. Okay, and this is also good. Now then what can we do is this empty of 12, I can paste it like this, right? And a MB of 6 should do the trick. So now we are going to design this card. So for the card, I want it to be full. I want the max of card to be of SM, which is like 384 or 24 RAM, 384 pixel, 24 RAM. I want the overflow to be hidden. I want this to be like a rounded SM. Like there should be some sort of like a curvature or some sort of a like little bit of round, maybe a little bit more round. And then I also want the shadow should be also LG. So now you can see that you can see there is a card, right? The shadow gives that card or this differentiation between the background and the foreground. So if I remove this, you don't see that. But if I add this, you see that there's some sort of like a card mechanism that is happening there. So next we will go inside our card image container. Now for this, I simply want to apply flex string 0. This is a CSS property that we just simply applying. I don't want to apply anything here because this is going to be a part and parcel of the optimization phase, right? So no width, no nothing, just simple plain unoptimized image. But I will apply the classes here, right? So the class will be h of 48. The height should not be more than that. Full of width and object cover. So now it will become how it is like looking right now. This. Cool. Now the cart content is something that I will say is flex. Flex 1, flex of column, gap of 2, right? And the padding of 6. So basically what I have done is I want all of them to be contained inside the flex of column. So flex and flex column is necessary. And I also want it to be like flex of 1 so that this property can be taken into account as well inside this. And then I am saying between these elements, between these text, there should be a gap of 2 and the padding should be of 6 from all the sides. So when I save this, this is how it becomes. Okay, what is next? Well, the next thing is I want this to be a flex, and this covers only this date and this category. I want this to be flex. I want the items to be center for sure. I want the justify the things to be on start, and this is how it will be. It is like nothing else. I want a little bit of like gap between them, which now separated the both of them. The text should now be small. I want it small text in comparison to other ones, which I will look into. I also want it to be a font of medium. Leading, there should be like top and bottom, there should be some sort of like a line height, which is say 5. Around line height is 1.25 rem, 20 pixel. And text, I want it to be a little bit less. So slate of say 600, right? A little bit less. Cool. Now this is a span, which I have said as date. So let's use this date, right? As now, this is how I want to style it. You don't have to do this. We can do something like this gap. If we remove this gap, say, right? What I want is something like this. In this date, I want it to be rounded of MD. I want it to be BG, be a little bit colorful like this. Why not we just use it like so and make it as capitalize, okay? And then the text red should be 50. Okay, this is how it is looking. It is bad, but this is how it is looking right now. The category, I want it to be the same way. So let's see, I want it to be rounded of SM, MD. I want it to be purple here. So let's call it as 800. I want this to be, let's call it 700 only. PX of 2, PY of 1, then capitalize this as well, right? And text of purple of E. This is how it is, and we have to put the gap of 4 here back. Okay, so this is how it looks. So now we come to the title. Title is going to be the same way that I'm designing all the other elements, which is I want a little bit of margin top. I want the text to be Excel. I want the font to be semi-bold, and it should be capitalized. All right, the paragraph or the description that we have should be text of base, like very base, 16 pixel basically, leading of 6, and text slate basically 600. Let's see, 600. Okay, now next is basically the blog and the read more. So let's see, this can be a link. So I want this link to be W max first of all, right? The width should not go beyond that. And this should be rounded MD. I want it to be BG green, or let's go with the slate only, right? Like 6, like this. Text should be slate of 50, PX of 4, PY of 2, capitalize this as well, and that should do the entire trick. So this is how it is looking. This is our blog. It is taking some time because the images are very big. Let's see what happens if I am on the full screen. This is how it will look on the full screen. Okay, this is how it will look on a full screen, and it is good. There is some sort of like a margin issue, so let's fix that as well. At the very top we have a container, so what I will do is inside this container, I will add a class and that will do these things. So this, okay, cool. So it is now a little bit up, and from here it is a little bit here, and this page is like pausing a lot, right? This is pausing a lot, and that's because these images are quite big. So if I inspect this, first of all, this is how the mobile will look. And if you go to any of the Nest Hub and all of that, this is how it will look. If I go to responsive, this is how it will look. Okay, so our entire site is now responsive. So that is cool, first of all. But if you look at the network tab and in the image and I load this, we are calling somewhere around what, 59 MB worth of data. So we will optimize this in the optimization section, but for now this should do it. Now let's go to single page. Again, I will say inspect, not like this. Let's put it like so. Click on this read more, and now we are on the single page. All right. So for the single page, what I will do is I will go inside this page, simply open it, and let's see what I have here. So the first thing that I have is card image container, right? And this looks quite similar to the card image container that I had before. All right. So can we just use the same thing? Maybe we can. So let's do the same thing here, right? First of all, I will simply make this like this and just copy paste this entire thing. Okay, we don't need this, but we need this. Now this being this, like this is a single thing, so we need the article dot title. So now it is here, and we also then need capitalize CSS. Okay, so this is our title first of all. All right, and we also have like bottom and top done because of this. Then let's go back. We are mapping through this entire thing, which is like a card and all of that. Now we don't need this card, right? It is just a page, so we can just skip that. Let's go with this. And let's go with this. By the way, we don't even need this because we are not having any sort of like a flex box there either. Let's in LG, let's increase it to 96. Okay. In MD, let's make it as 56 or 64. Now in the cart content, the image here is fine. For the cart content, we have this. So let's copy paste this. So, okay. We don't need this for the cart content. I mean, this is not required. The PX, right? We need the PY. We don't need the PX. Then we have the same thing, which is these two. So let's copy paste this entire thing towards here, date category and all of that. Cool. We don't need this because we already have the heading at the top. And then this content is basically the description. So let's go here and copy this like so. And we don't need this required more, right? Maybe we can say go back. So let's say go back, and this could be just blocks. So that should do our little bit of designing, not much, but little bit. And this is good. I think this much is enough. If I go back, click on say this peacock one as read more, I'm in the peacock one, and here we go. And we already have seen that, yes, this is how we actually define the slug. So our blog is ready. We have designed everything here, and this section ends right now.